welcome to Suburban On Air. Mike Cohen with you, and it is an honor and a pleasure to have international recording artist from Montreal, our pride and joy, Gregory Charles. Gregory, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And Jeff Bernstein, who is the president of the Israel Cancer Research Fund in Montreal. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Mike.
And Alexandra Schwartz and her dog and her cat, who is the CEO of ICRF Montreal. Welcome, Alexandra.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Now, last week, I was blown away by what I saw on YouTube when I heard that the ICRF Gala was going virtual, given the COVID-19 pandemic, and that Gregory Charles was on. I mean, who's not going to want to watch 2.5 hours of Gregory Charles? It was a fantastic show. You raised over $400,000. First, Jeff, before we get going on the gala, because I'm going to put in a description of this video how people can log on and see it, Jeff, just explain to everyone, what is ICRF?
Well, like you said, ICRF is the Israel Cancer Research Fund. It was founded in 1976, so we're not new to this fight in cancer. We fund research, so we don't buy machines, we fund people. And we fund Israeli scientists. They could be Jewish scientists, they could be Arab scientists. We actually have 2 Arab scientists that we're funding right now in Montreal. We've been doing this, like I said, for over 40 years, and basically the research is published internationally. We have 2 Nobel Prize winners who won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry back in 2006. They were Israel's first Nobel Prizes in the sciences, in chemistry, and we've introduced drugs to the market, and that people who are suffering from or tolerating cancer, because in many cancers today, cancer's become a chronic disease. We've helped introduce these drugs to market. So it's an international organization based in New York. Montreal is ICRF Canada. There's also a chapter in Toronto, in New York, in Los Angeles, in Connecticut, in Chicago, in Coachella Valley, in Los Angeles. So many chapters in the US and 2 in Canada, and very proud to be here.
Now, Jeff, you and Alexandra were very involved in changing the format. Alexandra, maybe you can tell me what went into taking the gala that was originally going to be in a hall with hundreds of people and transforming it virtually.
Well, the first thing is that we had Gregory because we were already going to have Gregory as our feature performance at the Ritz on June 1st. So the first thing that Jeffrey and I discussed was Gregory had already confirmed his availability, and would he be open to the concept? Because having the performer who would be engaged in this and understanding of the format was the most important thing to feel that could we indeed execute. And Gregory's immediate response was, yes, I would love to. And that's what set the ball into motion. We didn't really know what it was going to be until we got our teeth sunk into it. But his team and his experience in doing live virtual events was what enabled us to be able to pivot very rapidly.
That's true. And Gregory, you've done over 4,000 concerts. You sold 2.5 million tickets, 1 million albums. And as I went through your website, I noticed that's quite correct, that you already have an academy online. So this really wasn't so new to you, was it?
No, but it wasn't. But at the same time, I think this organization was the first to attempt this and to go on with a fundraising event and do it virtually. So it required a lot of guts and a lot of courage, because they're trailblazers. But we had been, with my colleagues, we've been doing a lot of virtual stuff for a while. For the last 3 years, we've had a little bit over 10,000 students now who study the piano, the guitar, and the voice, singing voice, through online classes that they get every day, 10-minute long online classes. And in the past 2 years, I have been preparing with my team for virtual performances. This was pre-pandemic. We just thought that eventually it might be a way to go. We thought that eventually fundraisers would go that route as well, because sometimes you fundraise, but you raise funds at the same time. The fundraiser itself costs so much money. So we were kind of preparing. We didn't know that we'd have to do it so quickly. And the great thing is our first colleagues on this, as I said before, were really well organized, have obviously people who love their organization and understand the importance of the organization, and were courageous enough to try something new with a great result.
Gregory, I know the pandemic has been devastating to so many people, so many industries. How has it impacted your industry? Singing, concerts, so on and so forth.
It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible because, first of all, after kids who are really needy, come artists. We're very needy. We need for people to remind us that they love us all the time. So that's why we get on stage all the time. The fact that artists cannot get on a stage or cannot get in front of a crowd is psychologically horrible. Now, let's talk about the economics of it. It's terrible because even if we open up soon, it's going to take a while to convince people to come and sit down in the venue and attend a play and listen to someone right next to them coughing or something and not knowing what it is. So it is difficult. At the same time, this pandemic has made what we do as singers, as artists, as comedians, it's made what we do so obviously relevant. I mean, we keep telling people that we don't save lives. We're not like these doctors that we're talking about. We're not like these researchers that eventually will find a cure for cancer or other stuff. We're just clowns. We're just artists. At the same time, everyone can testify to the fact that in the last 3 months, the lack of entertainment, of music, and by lack, I don't mean there wasn't any. There was, but the lack of this in the real sense, with real live people, is devastating. Now that this is said, we've got to move on. We've got to find ways to be relevant. We've got to find ways to find an audience. What we've been doing with this virtual stuff is not going to replace live stuff, but it is super important. And that's why after the ICRF, there are a lot more who've taken a look at this and are thinking, yeah, maybe we should do this as far as fundraisers, as far as corporate events, and even as far as entertainment events. I think we will come to that. It will change. It will have changed us. Hopefully the other social changes that are taking place right now will also be lasting as far as racial relations and all of that. But it will have changed us.
Yes, and when do you think you will next be singing the national anthem at a Montreal Canadiens game at the Bell Centre? You know what? Actually, it might be much faster than later. It might be very, very soon. The question is, who are going to be the people? I think it might be the players and the trainers and the referees, and everyone else will be somewhere else. But talk about a business that really needs to rethink how it operates. You're used to having 24,000 people in the venue. All of a sudden, you're told that you may have none or maybe have 4,000. Hey, but people who have will, when there's a will, there's a way. People who have a will, people who have conviction will find a way. People at ICRF found a way. And that's why they raised so much money this year, because it needed to be done, because cancer couldn't wait. So other businesses, other industries will have to think the same way. If it needs to be done, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. Well, we got to be inventors now. I agree. Now, Jeff had to leave us briefly for another media appearance, but he's back. Jeff, what in the end run, what has been the response to this virtual gala? What have people said about it? I know that the views keep climbing every day.
Yeah, I mean, I had 2 calls this morning about it. We're talking about our Women of Action event in the fall, which is typically at the Windsor on Peel Street. And we decided today the Women of Action event will be virtual. It will be on November 22nd. It will be produced by Gregory's team. We will likely ask Gregory. We haven't asked him yet, but Gregory, we're going to ask you now.
You just did now.
Can we have the studio that morning.
You know I'm going to say yes.
Of course. You know, and so it's going to be a blend. If you know, if we bring in a guest speaker from New York or Vancouver or Toronto, maybe they'll come in, maybe they'll be virtual, but you know, our honorees will come to the studio like we were in the studio on June 1st. And even if events are allowed to happen, this is the type of event, the Women of Action event, which usually has 400 people at the Windsor every year, raises $200,000-300,000. We're doing it virtual. We made that decision this morning. We had 2 other calls with people who were inquiring about the platform we used and who did the production. And basically we said, look, you have to work with Gregory's team because they have all the tools and all the professional know-how and experience of how to put this on. The reason we're getting such a beautiful reaction to the show was it was an incredibly produced show. You know, you see Gregory on the screen. I made a couple of speeches and Alexandra. There's a whole team behind there running streams. I mean, it looks like, you know, kind of like the Star Wars spaceship, you know, and everyone's lined up and this is what it is. We had 5 streams running that night and professional cameras and this is a big advantage for Gregory and his team because people in LA now in the entertainment industry are looking for places like Gregory's in LA to set up remote studios. Listen, Andy Grammer, who performed at our gala 2 years ago, he had a gig for 35,000 people over Zoom. He was paid a lot of money to motivate a company that had suffered really, really terribly through COVID. And right before he went on, what happened to him just happened to me. I'm in the country, there was an outage, and he couldn't perform, okay? Now, Gregory has a pipeline, he's got a great internet connection. I'm not promoting it's just you need to have the right tools. So The thing is, yes, we are trailblazers, but we wanted to show the community that you can do this. Don't sit with blinders on. Don't freeze. You got to pivot, and you got to pivot quick. And I'll tell you who motivated the decision for us. It was Dr. Walter Gottlieb. I was on the phone with him, and I said, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, I don't know about the virtual thing. I just don't know. And he said it very simply. And I guess this is like a surgeon's mentality. He says, if you don't try, you're not going to know. He says, try. Just try. And it was so simple. And I said, okay, we'll try. And then we spoke to Gregory, and Gregory said, no, we're well equipped for this. We're fully comfortable, and said, let's do it. You know, Alex put this whole thing together with her team, a very small team, in 5 weeks. In 5 weeks.
I think I would say 3 weeks. 2 weeks of figuring out how to do it.
Alexandra, how many calls have you received from other organizations kind of asking you for your trade secrets on this template?
I think it's very interesting because people are calling, but then they also seem to think that they could do it better. So good luck. It's great. It's all good. You know, I've shared a lot to a certain extent. I think, though, our advantage was absolutely Gregory's team, Jeffrey's open-mindedness, Walter's support, Dr. Gottlieb's support, and then also I had, you know, some connections to people who do virtual production. And what we did is we sat on Zoom for 2 weeks, from 5 a.m. till 9 p.m., recording interviews with doctors and patients and philanthropists and business people. And then we finished our interviews on Wednesday before the gala. And then on Thursday to Sunday, we had 2 editors and a graphic designer and a couple of well-known Montreal photographers who gave us photos, and we pulled it together and we pre-produced 8 media elements. So I think that we just had a team of people who were really dedicated to cancer and affected by COVID, who wanted to come together and feel. Every time I said, I'm sorry for taking up your time, they said, we want to do this. We want to do this with you. So that's what made the difference. It was a collaborative, you know, COVID energy, let's say, in a very positive way. And they wanted to experience it for the first time too, right? So that was what was exciting for all of us. And in each in our own way, we were experiencing something for the first time, which is unusual in fundraising, right? Because people have been fundraising for a really long time. Yeah. So it was really exciting to be the first.
I want to add one more thing, Mike. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. Something that we haven't spoken about really is the supporting local. You know, ICRF typically never supported local when it came to entertainment, except for Celine Dion. Okay, we always went international. It was really what we were known for, bringing in international people who sometimes didn't visit Montreal. You know, Montreal is not Toronto in the sense that the entertainment world likes to sometimes hop over Montreal. So, we brought John Legend in, we brought Robin Thicke in, we brought the Beach Boys in, we brought a lot, Lionel Richie, a lot of people over the years, but these are not people from Quebec, except for Celine Dion and this year Gregory. And I think the local thing is very important because we have to protect our own. We have to protect Quebec. We have to protect Montreal. We have to protect that tech team in Gregory's studio. We have to protect the restaurants who delivered meals that night. And our photographers, one of them who delivers her photography to Reuters. I mean, those shots of Montreal are just unbelievable, unbelievable shots. And so I think the local component cannot be overlooked. And I think it shouldn't be overlooked for whoever's watching this, because our people, like our own people, need help. And we have to protect our own. And if we are better, then everyone else will be better. But first we have to protect our own. It's like, when we used to fly, remember that time we used to take airplanes about 4 months ago?
Barely remember that.
When they say, put your seatbelt on first before, buckling your children's seatbelt. Well, we have to buckle the seatbelt of Quebec and of Montreal, and then we can take care of the others.
Now, Jeffrey, very quickly, just to spoil the surprise of the ending, if someone hasn't seen this yet, but I've already written it in my column, you got one heck of a donation at the very end. That is local. That is definitely local for ICRF. Why don't you just tell us who those two generous people were? I've spoken to Mike Flinker already on the phone several times.
Yeah, Mike Flinker and his wife, Dr. Marcia Gilman, who works at the Jewish General Hospital in palliative care, not an easy field. And they're just wonderful philanthropists. And they're going to support an Israeli fellow who will come to Montreal and work at the Glen site under Dr. Sender Lieberman and the colorectal team at the UMUHC. And that Israeli fellow will train here for 2 years and then go back to Israel. And this fellowship program, like right now we have 5 Israeli fellows working in Montreal. Last year we had 7. And they're placed in all different hospitals. We have fellows now at the Saint-Justine, Hôpital Maisonneuve-Rosemont, the Glen, the Jewish, the Montreal General. So spread out through Montreal, Israeli fellows. And it's great because, again, here you are supporting local, but then building a bridge between Quebec and Israel, Canada and Israel, which is very important in research because the collaboration, the back and forth, what you get done in 2 years is great, but it's what you get done in 20 years. That's when you really can see progress. So those bridges are very important.
My final word to Gregory, prediction. When will we see people like yourself back before a sold out Bell Center? How long are we talking about? Is it going to be after we get a vaccine?
Yeah, I think I'm not a medical expert. I think the fall of 2021.
Okay, well, that's a realistic prediction. So we're going to be doing virtual stuff for quite a while. So I want to thank the 3 of you. I want to thank Alexandra's animals for being very quiet in the background. And I want to wish you all the best. And viewers can go onto the description of this video and read all about ICRF and definitely watch that video. Thank you all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.